It is Thursday night and there's no game this Sunday. But guys, anyway, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe. We're going to have some fun here tonight. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about the future of this team. Again, guys, my name is Joe. If you're new to this channel, again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. After you hit that subscribe button, you want to hit that notification bell. It notifies you when we put new content on here. I know the season's over. I know we're still depressed over the game this past Sunday against the Houston Texans. But man, that doesn't mean we still can have some fun waiting for the next season. And man, I'm already salivating, waiting for that 2020-2021 season to get here. We're, quite a few months away yet. Quite a few months away. Lots of things that have to happen between now and the start of the 2020-2021 season. Of course, the official start of the league year, March 18th. So that's really the date that Bills fans need to be looking forward to now. We saw not too long ago, a few days ago, the Buffalo Bills signed some future contracts. So they took care of that business, 11 future contracts. We went over those in a previous video. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out, guys. Again, though, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Like this video, leave a comment. We are live, and I thank you guys who join me when we go live for these live streams. Again, I run a lot on fan interaction, so make sure you guys are interacting with me. It makes the stream go a lot better. But we're going to talk about a lot of things coming up in the 2021 season for the Buffalo Bills. You're talking about free agents, right? Buffalo Bills free agents. The Buffalo Bills have, currently on the books, the Buffalo Bills have 19 unrestricted free agents that are going to hit the market this offseason. We're going to talk about our own cap space, the Buffalo Bills. What's their cap space look like? And guys, I even got a little surprise for you. What I'm going to give you a few names that might add some cap space to the Buffalo Bills cap space situation. Again, there's some players that look at their dead cap money compared to the salary they should be, or that they would be accruing with the Buffalo Bills if they are to stay on this team. Things don't add up. Maybe a restructure of a contract would help out, but you look at some of these dollar signs and you say this can add to that Buffalo Bills cap space. We're going to talk about some of the expectations that the Buffalo Bills have had in the past and the Buffalo Bills will have moving forward in the 2021 season. And then we're going to talk about this culture, right? Everyone's talking about this culture, the Buffalo Bills culture, Coach McDermott, Brandon Beane, the culture they brought to Buffalo. It's here and it's going to be sticking around for a while. It's infectious, right? It's like smiling, right? Everyone says if you have a positive attitude, it's going to become contagious. Well, that's the culture we have now in Buffalo. So when you look at free agents, when you look at draft picks, don't just look at the talent. The talent's going to be there. Who are the guys that fit the culture? That's what we're talking about here, guys. Again, guys, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. Luca, welcome to Believers Talk. BFLO Mafia News. I'm kind of disappointed we ain't doing much this free agency and signing wise. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens in free agency. Yes, obviously it's not going to be the turnaround we had last year, right? Last year, talking about 40% of our team was new from either free agency or the draft or whatever have you. It's not going to be that type of overhaul. We're not going to be looking at our offense or defense next year and saying 9 of the 11 starters are new. That's not going to happen. I know it was a lot of fun last year keeping up with free agency. And guys, we did a video on every single Buffalo Bills free agent last season. Plan to do the same thing this season. So guys, you want to hit that subscribe button. I know it's going to be a long off season, but we have you covered for breaking Buffalo Bills news right here. Well, it's about 2 years ago when Zay Jones busted a window and was fighting for Jesus. Or last year with the McCoy situation. And then, of course, later dropping McCoy. Anyway, we have you covered right here, so you want to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to comment as you guys are coming into the chat room. Hey, Kenneth Osborne, good to see you. Our future is bright, absolutely. Elliot Essler comes in. Sup, Joe? I've spent all day defending Dable on Facebook. What's my thoughts on him? We'll get into our thoughts of the coaching staff already losing one of our defensive line coaches to the college football ranks, and that's fine. Everyone's wondering why he took a position of the same job title. Everyone goes places for their own reasons. Maybe he's from there. Maybe he went to that college. I don't know. I haven't taken a look. I think it was Virginia Tech, right? I haven't taken a look at the background of that situation, but everyone has their own reasons. Maybe he is getting paid more money. I have no idea. But everyone has the reasons to go. I wish him nothing but the best of luck. But we'll get into Brian Dable a little bit as well. Elliot comes in and says, my point on Dable is that we need one more year to get the right pieces, and you can't judge him off of the season when 9 of 11 starters were new. Too many fans want instant gratification. Trust the process. Remember when Coach McDermott came in, he said trust the process? It was kind of like we were making fun of him. Remember when he first left, we make fun of him because we looked at the 76ers who originally said that like 3-4 years prior, and it took them so long to get to where they are now, and that's still playoff caliber. It's not even championship caliber unless Joel Embiid goes off or something like that. But everyone was making fun of Coach McDermott when he said, and look at where we're at. Look at where we're at with this future. So we're going to talk about that. Luka comes in, Brown, Cole, Duke, and McKenzie all staying. Possibly. Like I said, we're going to take a look at some free agents. Duke, obviously, Duke Williams, he was on the practice squad. We can possibly re-sign him this year. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that. So let's first get into, hey, Daniel, how you doing? Welcome to Believers Talk. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk about some of the 2020 potential free agents going into the Buffalo Bills season. Like I said, we have 19 names on the docket, right? We have 19 names that are going to become unrestricted free agents. We do have one that is a team option, but I do not think. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? Not sure if I already said hi to you in the chat room or not. But we do have one guy that is a team option that I don't think we're going to keep him, but let me know what you think. I also highlighted a few names of guys that I do want to talk about, guys that I wouldn't mind seeing stick around in after free agency, come back to the Buffalo Bills after free agency. I got like 4 or 5 names highlighted that I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to tell me what names you think you would want to come back next season on the Buffalo Bills. So let's go through this list. We're in alphabetical order here, guys. So first on this list is Lorenzo Alexander. Guys, Lorenzo Alexander already announced that he's going to retire, right? A long 13-year career, a great career, ended in Buffalo with a few seasons here. Did a great job for the Buffalo Bills, and has already mentioned that he wants to stick around, right? Already mentioned that he wants to stay in the Buffalo area and help this team continue to grow, and that's awesome to hear, and that talks more about the culture that we're going to talk about later that Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott has started. And guys, while you're getting in here, while you're getting settled in, first of all, again, I say thank you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let everybody else know that we are here talking about the Buffalo Bills' future. So we have Lorenzo Alexander. Then we got another Alexander, Maurice Alexander, linebacker. He's going to be 30 years old at the end of the season or at the beginning of the next season. So age does become an issue there. Got guard Isaac Asiata. We signed him during the season this year. We always could use help on the offensive line position, but I'm not sure Asiata is where we want to go. Kurt Coleman, free safety, played in 2 games this year for the Buffalo Bills. I think he played actually 13 games, a lot of special teams contributions as well. We picked him up last year from the Carolina Panthers. I believe it was right before the season started. We get free safety Kurt Coleman. He, again, is getting up there in age at the age of 32. Funny to hear me say getting up there in age and talking about a guy that's younger than me, but he is getting up there in age at 32. Daniel comes in. Lorenzo is such a class act. He absolutely is. Good luck on him getting that Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Just to be nominated for that award is an honor, and I think he deserves it, man, for all of the work that he's done in Buffalo. Not saying that the other guys don't deserve it, right? They all do a lot of great work. Like I said, just being nominated for this award is a great honor, and I would love to see Lorenzo Alexander be able to be on that stage during the NFL honors, the last one of his career, accepting that Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And then you go down this list, you have Jason Kroom, tight end. Didn't see much of him this year now that he is broken up with the Pagula's daughter. Might not see much of him in a Buffalo Bills uniform the rest of his career. Angry Buffalo sports fan comes in here. Welcome, man. McBean is creating a place free agents would want to come and play. And we heard Brandon Beane talk about that a little bit in his exit interview, right? About how this is now a place where free agents want to come to. And we hope that's true. Not saying we want someone like an Antonio Brown. We don't want that kind of noise in our locker room. Again, he does not fit our culture. But if this is now a destination place for free agents, we could be a top place for a top landing spot for some of these top free agents. I'm thinking about Ngakoue, some other names that are big names that could come our way. And there are some names that might not spark, might not pop out at you. But I look at some positions for the Buffalo Bills, and if things go the way I see them going, they might need to get filled, and free agency is a good place to do that. Crew would be no big loss, absolutely not. Then you look down, this is the first guy I've highlighted. This is the first guy where it's like, what do we want to do with him? Most of his contribution this season was on special teams. Everyone was excited to see what he could do 2 years ago after he kind of had his coming out party. That's wide receiver Robert Foster. Remember, 2 years ago, Robert Foster and Josh Allen seemed to click. They seemed to have a connection. Now, we pick up Cole Beasley. We pick up John Brown. We kind of look at Robert Foster and say, don't need you much anymore. And unfortunately, that's what happened. He got put in special teams, mostly in a gunner position, at only 3 catches this year for 64 yards. So, again, I highlighted his name just because of his contributions 2 years ago, but we could definitely be seeing him go in free agency. The next guy, someone else who is considered retirement, hasn't given us a yes or no yet. When I think about players who are going to be free agents thinking about retirement, I don't think about them until they announce that they are coming back into the NFL. I consider them retired until they say they are not retiring, and that is, of course, running back Frank Gore. Frank Gore was a huge contributor to this Buffalo Bills team at the beginning of the season. As Devin Singletary got more involved in the offense, obviously Frank Gore's role diminished more and more, but you can't speak enough about his leadership abilities on and off the field. I'm sure that he helped Devin Singletary in a lot of ways, including the best ways to practice, right? The best ways to spend your evenings waiting for a game. He had that leadership that he knew what to do when waiting for a Sunday night football game, an experience that Buffalo Bills fans haven't had in a long, long time, or Buffalo Bills players. A lot of those players never played a Sunday night football game before. So to have some veteran experience, a guy who has seen that before, has done that before, was huge going into the season. So should the Bills re-sign Frank Gore if the money's right? Obviously, I say re-sign all these guys if the money's right. But I think we have to wait for him to make his decision on retirement, yes or no. Get to some of your comments after we just got done talking about Frank Gore. Daniel comes in and says Kroom would be no big loss. I believe that as well. Kenneth Osborne, Kroom is unnecessary when we have Croft, Knox, and Sweeney. We will get to some of those other names as well. And Buffalo sports fans, AB, Diggs, and OBJ are locker room cancers. I would agree with that, especially with AB and OBJ. Daniel says Foster will stay because he is dirt cheap and still has potential. Maybe, but you have to remember, I don't think Foster will be practice squad eligible anymore. So you're taking a roster spot if he stays on from here on out. So that's something that the Buffalo Bills staff has to consider. When it's between Foster and Duke Williams, are you just going to make Foster inactive? Because you could still use that spot as well for someone who might be able to fight for an active roster spot. Bills should be done with Gore. He's done. We know towards the end of the season, Gore was not doing as well as we normally see Gore do, averaging 2-3 yards a carry, just not getting it done the way he used to. If he does, it's an honor to have Frank Gore retire as a Bill. I don't think he'll retire as a Bill overall, but yeah, his last team would have been the Buffalo Bills. I'm pretty sure that he's going to retire as a 49er, spent the majority of his career at the 49ers, with the 49ers, I should say. But he also spent a lot of time with the Colts, too, so we'll see what he decides to do. Luka comes in. Frank Gore is a great guy to mentor Singletary. I say we keep him, again, if he wants to stay. It's all a matter of if he wants to stay. Kenneth comes in and says if Gore wants to come back, I say bring him back, but Singletary is definitely the starter. Yeah, that is something that Singletary proved the later half of this season. He is definitely the starter here. So now I want to move on to the next guy that I highlighted, a guy that we got from Houston, and that's Kevin Johnson, cornerback. Now, he had 1 start this season. You're talking about 5 pass deflections, a sack this year, and 32 tackles. In his limited time, he definitely made an impact on the Buffalo Bills, on the field. Be interesting to see what the Bills do. I mean, we know that he has talent, but we also know that he has had a history of injuries in the past. So you have to look into that and see where he's willing to go as far as price-wise. He is 28 years old, so he is getting a little bit older, but you still have at least one good contract with him, right? 1 3-4 year contract. You still might be able to get the most out of Kevin Johnson. Next guy on the list, another guy that I have highlighted, that's Shaq Lawson. Everyone wants to talk about Shaq Lawson. He had 2 pass deflections this year, a forced fumble, 6.5 sacks, and 32 tackles. Those were the numbers for Shaq Lawson in 2019. Is that a guy you want us to bring back? Again, he did not start for the Buffalo Bills most of the season, but he did play a lot of time, and he has 6.5 sacks. That's a career high. Now it's a matter of, will he continue to improve on those numbers, or is this the best we're going to get out of him? Is he a system type player where the system works out for him? And we'll talk about that a little bit more down this list. Or is he beginning to show the signs that made him a first-round draft pick in the first place? After Shaq Lawson, you have Corey Liuget. Again, Corey Liuget is somebody who Victor comes in and says, no, I think you're talking about Shaq Lawson. Daniel comes in and says, bring Kevin Johnson back at a reasonable deal. Very good cornerback depth. Anthony John, how am I doing? I'm doing great. Good to see you in here. Looking forward to Wade Singletary combo. Again, if Wade can perform the whole season, the whole offseason like he did during the preseason this past year, I would love to see Wade come on his team. But he has to earn that spot. Can't just give it to him because it's a feel-good story. That's how I felt about Duke Williams this whole year, and that's how I feel about Christian Wade. You think the Pats are making the playoffs next season? I mean, there's so much to go in between this season and next season. Does Tom Brady stay with the Patriots? That's a big part of, do the Patriots make the season next year, or make the playoffs next year? We know that they have a tough schedule just like we do going into next season. At least that's what it looks like going into next season. But there's a lot of factors that will go into, will the Patriots make the playoffs next season? With Bill Belichick at the helm, you can never really count them out. But a lot of things have to happen before we decide if the Patriots will win enough games to make the playoffs. A lot of things have to go into consideration before we ask ourselves, can the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East? Right now we say yes, but there are a lot of things that can happen between now and the start of the 2020-2021 regular season that go into predictions like that. And I'll wait till close to that time to give you my exact predictions. But again, you can never count Bill Belichick out. If Tom Brady stays with New England, that's the combo that I'll never second guess and think that they have a shot until I'm proven wrong. So Lawson is playing for money, says Victor. He was this past season. Did that influence how well he did? If so, it's not a guy that I want to keep around next season, because obviously next season he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. Hopefully the Bills don't overreach for him. And that's something that Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott and this front office staff have really done a good job over the past 3 seasons. Really not overpaying for guys, not having a lot of contracts that lead to a lot of dead cap money later down the line. I love that about this regime. I hope that stays here for as long as they can together. Daniel says Christian Wade would be a replacement for Gore. I want to see him play. Don't get in the same trap that you did with Duke Williams. Everyone wants to see Duke Williams play. Well, we only saw him play for 4 games. And possibly, I mean, again, he did better than Robert Foster would have done in that playoff game. I'm not saying he didn't, but he had 2 crucial drops in that game too, and you can't forget about that. But we'll talk more about Duke Williams in a minute, probably later into the stream. But we'll see what happens. Daniel comes in and says, players always ball out in a contract year. Money equals motivation. Victor comes in, 7.5, maybe 8 mil. If not, let him walk. Talk about Shaq Lawson. Yeah, I'm not sure why I want Shaq Lawson. What contract would suit me? Again, I trust this front office to decide that for themselves. Again, Corey Liuget, a guy that we got during the middle of the season to kind of plug in at that defensive tackle role. Now, I do like what Corey Liuget brought to the Buffalo Bills this season, but I think that we can get better at that defensive tackle position. Remember, we're going to have Harrison Phillips coming back. I feel like the depth for the Buffalo Bills at defensive tackle is pretty well off. I'm not sure we're going to re-sign Corey Liuget. Spencer Long, that's the guy that we have the team option on, the center. I'm not, again, with Feliciano here, with Morse here, I'm not sure the point of keeping a guy like Spencer Long on this team, so I don't think he will be re-signed in 2020. Dean Marlowe, so a lot of time on the inactive roster, right? Was on the 53-man roster, but most Sundays, except for a few, spent the time on the inactive list, played some good special teams, played that Week 17 game against the Jets, looked pretty good, so we'll see what happens. Kenneth comes in and says, Jordan Phillips is a guy I want back, and we're going to get to him in a moment. Isaiah McKenzie, wide receiver. Remember last year, I think it was, we picked up Isaiah McKenzie from Denver, and ever since then, he has just been a guy that defenses had to account for. You talk about those jet sweeps he ran really well this season that really spread out some of the defenses for us. I think it's going to be interesting if Brian Dable stays, which all reports I've read say that Cleveland is not going to hire him as their next head coach, which means he'll probably stay in the Buffalo Bills facility. I think if Brian Dable stays, that's the name you got to look at and think that we're going to keep him as he continues to add different wrinkles to this offense. Next, you got Sonoris Perry, running back. We signed him last year in free agency to help us with special teams. And then Andre Roberts took over as the return guy when we signed him. So we really haven't used Sonoris Perry all too much this season. Not surprised to see him go. Dan comes in. I think at least one or two teams will view Shaq as a starter and offer him a starter level contract. Bills will likely give him a rotation player contract. And that's what he was this past season for the Bills, a rotation player. So that's what I would expect us to do for him. We need Marcel Darius back. Sign that man to a $100 million guaranteed contract. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the things that this regime had to do heading into it and why 2018 was 6-10. We'll talk about that in a little bit. After Sonoris Perry, you got the guy that was talked about in the chat room, Jordan Phillips. Remember, guys, Jordan Phillips led the Buffalo Bills in sacks this season. I do want to bring up an interesting point, though. Again, you talk about that defensive tackle position. You know that Harrison Phillips will be coming back as well. So you know you got some depth at defensive tackle. So how much money is Jordan Phillips going to ask for? Because if we have depth, again, talking about that rotation, right? If we're rotating him every 2-3 plays, we want to give him a rotational type contract. And if he's not willing to accept that because there's more money on the table, because there's probably going to be more money on the table, then he's going to go somewhere else. And that's just how it's going to be. Guys, I think about Jordan Phillips, and I have to ask myself, and this is something you have to ask yourself too, is Jordan Phillips just that good at defensive tackle where he finally has found his production? Or is he a product of the system, right? I think about 2 years ago, and I think about Preston Brown. Remember we had Preston Brown, linebacker, and I think he was like second or third in the league in tackles. Second or third in the league in tackles. He had over 140 tackles that season. He was a monster, was a free agent, and I really wanted him. I remember that was the first year Steve and I started this channel, and I said, both Steve and I said we wanted Preston Brown back. He goes to Cincinnati. We're not happy about it. But what has he done in Cincinnati since? He hasn't really gotten the attention that he got in Buffalo. So, is Jordan Phillips that type of guy? Is Jordan Phillips a guy that, hey, with Buffalo, 9.5 sacks looks really good? Is he going to go somewhere else and just be an average, maybe a little above average defensive tackle that a team paid probably a little bit too much for? That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid paying too much for these players because it will come back to bite us in the end. And that's something that Brandon Beane, that's something that Coach McDermott have really tried hard not to do. This front office has tried really hard not to sign these guys to multi-year huge deals unless they know. It's going to be really interesting how they handle that Tre'Davious White situation. You heard Brandon Beane say he wants Tre'Davious White here long term. I think we would all agree with that. We want Tre'Davious White here a long time, but it's going to be a really interesting situation how they handle that going into his contract year, which is still 2 years away. But that's why I ask myself about Jordan Phillips. Is he a product of the system and finally broke out a little bit? Or was this his breakout season and you're going to see a dominant defensive end for the rest of his career? So that's something interesting about Jordan Phillips. Again, the number has to be right. For us to consider signing Jordan Phillips. Then you go down this list, you have Quinton Spain. We all know Quinton Spain's been aching to come back to Buffalo, has been kind of asking to come back to Buffalo. I wouldn't mind seeing him back here. Again, a rotational offensive lineman piece that is always needed in the NFL. We all know how much Coach McDermott loves that word versatility. Quinton Spain brings you a little bit of that, so that's something that will work in his favor when we're talking about signing him possibly to another deal down the line. So Quinton Spain is the name that I've highlighted, one to look out for. Julian Stanford, outside linebacker. You look at Julian Stanford and you say that might be someone who can replace Lorenzo Alexander on the outside at the outside linebacker position. When Stanford has been in, he's played pretty well for the Buffalo Bills. We have to give him credit. He hasn't been a starter type linebacker, so that's the only thing that worries me about him. Do we want to pay him what it would take for him to stay with the Buffalo Bills, or are we going to let him go? Adrian Waddle, we all know his story, coming over to Buffalo during the offseason, getting injured during training camp, I believe it was, out for the season. So we didn't get to see Adrian Waddle this season. Do we sign him to another deal? Try to keep him around. Again, you can always use more tackles, more guards. This would be huge to get Adrian Waddle back in Buffalo, even though he is coming off that injury. So again, that number would have to be right for the Buffalo Bills to stay interested, but that is a name you have to watch out for. And then the last name on my list, this is one I definitely have highlighted. Could Vosean Joseph replace Lorenzo? Possibly. Vosean Joseph, a draft pick from last season, spent a lot of time on the practice squad this past season for the Buffalo Bills. Got him in the 5th round from Florida during the preseason. I thought, man, he had some tenacity on him, right? Had some go after it type ball skills for Vosean Joseph. I really liked him a lot. If he continues to improve on that trajectory, maybe it's time to get a young guy in the outside linebacker. Because remember, this is about the time a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, maybe even a Matt Milano, definitely a Tre'Davious White, need to take leadership, right? We had Kyle Williams for a year, for a couple of years, he retired. Lorenzo Alexander took that mantle, took that leadership mantle for a year after Kyle Williams retired. Well, now who's the leader on that defense? Tremaine Edmonds has to step up. Trey White has to step up. They have to become voices. They have to become leaders in that locker room for now what's going to be an even younger defense. Remember, guys, this defense pretty much staying intact. I know we got Poyer and Hyde back there as well. Those guys might be getting paid soon too. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that room. And that brings me to the last guy on this list, a guy that I really liked this season. And I know he's had his up and down. Hey, Apex, how you doing? Donnie Brooks says he's too small. Talking about Vosean Joseph, unless he's packed on 60 pounds on the practice squad. Maybe he's eating those wings and he's just gaining weight. And but we'll see what happens. And again, we said that about Matt Milano too. We thought Matt Milano was going to be too small, and it really has worked out well. We love what Matt Milano has done for this defense, and I think he's one of the underrated stars in the NFL as far as linebackers go, let alone on the Buffalo Bills team. So I know size does matter, but you can adapt, right? You can adapt and adjust to make sure your size doesn't become the downfall on your NFL career. I really like this last guy, Levi Wallace, right? Levi Wallace, we all know what happened to him week 17 against the Jets. Gets his second interception of the season and goes down with what looked like a odd ankle injury, and he was questionable for the playoff game against the Houston Texans, and unfortunately just could not play. And again, guys, if you're joining me, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let people know that we are here talking about the Buffalo Bills' future. FinTech comes in and says, I wouldn't count Cody out yet. It's his first time seeing TJ and JJ Watt caliber competition. No, I agree. And you think about how Cody Ford did against a guy like Von Miller for Denver. I think that he did a decent job against Von Miller. I think he's done pretty decent all season. JJ Watt, as I said, I think it was Monday during our post-game coverage, just a different animal, right? Completely different animal. So that's something that we have to look at. I think Cody Ford's going to be ready to go. Again, guys, if you're new to the channel, you want to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and go and leave a comment while you are at it. Pierre Martinez asks who I'd like to pick at 22. Lots of names out there, right? Lots of names out there. Obviously, things are going to change as far as the Combine, as far as the Senior Bowl, which is coming up this month, guys, so make sure you look out for that. I will be doing a special video when the Senior Bowl happens to let you know who I thought impressed, who I was watching for the Buffalo Bills, and who I think the Buffalo Bills might be able to draft. I'm not going to really get into draft news yet, guys. However, if you're interested in draft news, I will let you know that the Louis T Network, if you're not a fan of them on YouTube, you should check him out. He does a great job during the off-season. Let him know Believers Talk sent you, but make sure you check him out. He does great individual videos on a lot of the draft prospects. He is a Redskins fan, but he does a lot of great work around the NFL. So make sure you check out the Louis T Network. At 22, a big buy wide receivers or pass rushing D-end. And again, guys, it all depends who's in front of us, who takes who, and who's available. We know Brandon Beans take the best available player, and we've seen that a lot in the past 2 seasons. So we'll see what happens this year. Depending on who's available, I could see McBean grabbing a corner, says Apex. And again, we're going to do a lot of draft specials between now and April, right? We're going to do a lot of draft picks. We're going to go over some of the names that I'm interested in as well. Maybe the top 5 wide receivers, top 5 corners, top 5 offensive linemen that I think we should, top 5 edge rushers that I think we should possibly take a look at 22. But again, all depends who's available. We'll see what happens. And then, so those are the 19 guys that are unrestricted free agents. I'll go through them again real quick. Lorenzo Alexander retired. Maurice Alexander, Isaac Asiata, Kurt Coleman, Jason Kroom, Robert Foster, Frank Gore, Kevin Johnson, Shaq Lawson, Corey Leggett, Spencer Long, Dean Marlowe, Isaiah McKenzie, Sonoris Perry, Jordan Phillips, Quentin Spain, Julian Stanford, Adrian Waddle, and Levi Wallace. Those are the 19 unrestricted free agents for the Buffalo Bills. So let me know, who do you want us to keep out of those 19 names? I would think that we're going to keep somewhere between 4 or 5 of those guys. So if you had your choice of any of those 19 guys to keep, who would they be? Again, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're liking this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Again, I know it's the off season. I mean, playoffs are still in effect, but for us Buffalo Bills fans, it's now the off season. I'm going to have you covered every step of the way. So hit that subscribe button. After you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Notifies you when we post new content. So when we look at the future of the Buffalo Bills, when we look at the 2020 season, it's not about, I'm itching to talk about the drafts. Hey, everyone starts itching to talk about the drafts once that happens, but we have free agency first. We have free agency in March. Again, league year starts March 18th. That's what we have to look forward to. And then after free agency is when you can start saying, hey, here's where the Bills are going. This is the direction they might be heading in the draft. I'm looking forward to the draft. Draft day is one of my favorite days, and now draft weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, one of my favorite weekends of the off season. I mean, I'm sure it's most of yours too, where a lot of things change, not just for our Buffalo Bills, but around the landscape of the NFL. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. So I want to talk about next, if you're talking about the future of this Buffalo Bills team, you got to talk about salary cap. And again, I'm not just going to talk about the Buffalo Bills salary cap currently. I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to give you some names, some guys that I see on the 2020 salary cap where we could save some more money and get even more salary cap space. So I'll talk to you about those guys as well. So first, I want to let you guys know that late last year, Ian Rappaport reported on NFL.com that the salary cap is going to be anywhere between $196.8 million and $201.2 million. So you're talking about a 1.6 or 1.4 million different range there. So it's a little bit of a range. So the Buffalo Bills could, along with every other team, have $1.4 million more. Joe Nelson comes in here and says, go Bills. Absolutely. Family MSB comes in and says, very tough schedule next year, sadly. You know what? I will talk about the schedule in an upcoming video. I have some things to say about how tough it is, and we'll talk about some of the teams that had a tough schedule this year and how well they fared. I don't think just because the teams look tough this year that necessarily means they'll be tough next year. Things like that, but we will talk about our future 2020 opponents in a later episode, probably either later this week, tomorrow, or early next week. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. I welcome the tough schedule, says Victor. I agree with that there. Joe says Bills should be frugal with cap space. That said, a splash player should be in order. I don't expect us to do as much in free agency as we did last year. Again, 40%, almost 40% of our team was changed and added during free agency. So obviously I don't expect to see that kind of movement this year. But the Buffalo Bills are currently 4th in the NFL as far as cap space heading into the 2020-2021 NFL season with $89,035,801 in cap space. That's currently 4th in the NFL. So doing pretty good, making sure that we have cap space coming into the NFL season. But guys, I have 5 names, 5 players who are currently on the books for more money than what the dead cap money would be, that would save us money and put that cap number up even higher for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe even gives a chance to sign Trey White to a big deal and still able to sign one of those big splash players like an Ngakoue or someone like that in free agency. 19 free agents this year. This year, about 9 or 10, says Daniel. 9 and 10, maybe 3 or 4 that are impactful players is what I would say as far as free agency goes this season. But we'll see. And again, guys, I'll have you covered right here on Billievers Talk. I'll give you a video on every single Buffalo Bills free agent that we signed, let you know what I think of the move, how they've done so far in their NFL careers, and what to expect for them with the Buffalo Bills. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and go ahead and leave a comment. So again, I have 5 names here that I'm going to go over, and I want you to think about these names. Do you want to keep them around at all? And if you don't want to keep them around, think about the money we would save to say bye-bye. So first on this list, I think it's a name that frustrated a lot of people, a lot of Bills fans this year. Tight end Lee Smith, okay? If we keep Lee Smith for the 2020 season, he is due to make $3.25 million. So if he makes $3.25 million, that's obviously a complete hit against the cap space. However, he is only due $1 million, and that $1 million would count towards our dead cap money. So if we don't keep Lee Smith, we pay him that $1 million, you're talking about a savings of $2.25 million. So is that someone that you'd say, hey, we could use that 2.25 on a tight end that right now is just better than Lee Smith, and then be willing to let go of a Lee Smith type player? The next guy on this list is the guy that we talked about in free agency, who is that team option, and that's Spencer Long, center. Bye-bye Smith, says Kyle Osborne. Absolutely. Croft is keep Sweeney on the sidelines. Croft not worth the money. He's one of the guys on here, so let me get to him in a second. Spencer Long is my 4 on here, center. He's due $4.125 million next season if he stays on the team. Again, it's a team option. He is only due $700,000 that would count towards the dead cap, which would be a savings of $3.425 million. Again, somebody that we don't really need on this team, Spencer Long. Versatile, and we know how much Coach McDermott loves that word versatile, but didn't really affect the Bills much this season. Not worth $3.25 million in my opinion, or I'm sorry, $3.425 million in my opinion. So that's money that we could save. Next on this list, and this is a name that you guys might disagree with, but I'm just looking at the number. And again, as someone commented earlier, can't give up on Cody Ford. I think maybe bringing in a rotational tackle is a good idea, but I look at Ty Nseki's number and I say maybe a little too high. So third on my list is Ty Nseki. He's due to make $5.2 million a season. If he's on the Buffalo Bills in 2020, he is going to make $5.2 million. Is he worth that, guys? You have to ask yourself. Not is Ty Nseki good. I think he's good. I think it worked out well. But those injuries catching up to him, right? His age might be catching up to him. Remember, he doesn't have a lot of NFL miles on his tires, but he is getting up there in age for an NFL player, especially on that offensive line. So out of that $5.2 million, only 1.5 of that is towards the dead cap, right? So that's a saving of $3.7 million. Move up to number 2, a name that was mentioned earlier in the chat. That's Tyler Croft, tight end. Was he worth $7 million to you guys this past season? I don't think so. If he is on the 2020 roster, he's due to make $6.412 million. A little bit too much if you ask me. The dead cap money for Tyler Croft is only $1.6 million, would be a savings of $4.812 million. And then my number 1 guy, a guy that really impressed me the final couple weeks of the season, including that playoff game against the Houston Texans, but just wonder what he's worth to the Buffalo Bills, and that's Trent Murphy. Guys, listen to this number. Listen to this number for Trent Murphy. Trent Murphy is due almost $9 million next season, $8.95 million next year. That's way too much for a rotational defensive end player, in my opinion. But out of that almost $9 million, only $1.75 million of that is dead cap money. That's a savings of $7.2 million. $7.2 million can get you a nice rotational defensive end. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either we restructure Trent Murphy's contract or we drop Trent Murphy altogether. And guys, Well, here's what I'm saying. Those 5 guys I just named, right? Those 5 guys, you talk about the savings for this team, it's $21.387 million. That brings our cap number up to $110 million in cap space. That's what that would do, getting rid of those 5 players. Releasing those 5 players. And again, some of them would be tough, right? Ty Seki, that would be a tough one, right? Trent Murphy, that might be a tough one. But if we release these guys, you're talking about $20 million in extra cap space. You're talking about $110 million going into the start of the 2020-2021 NFL season. We can do a lot of damage with that much money. We can do a lot of damage with that much money, in my opinion. I think that's a good cap number to start off. Say bye to Murphy and sign the D-end from Jacksonville. You're talking about, I said his name twice or 3 times already in the stream, and now Ngakoue. You're talking about Ngakoue from Jacksonville. Obviously, that's a big defensive end name that a lot of people want. We won't be the only team going after him. But if we do that, if we get rid of that 20+ million in cap space, man, that really puts that cap number up there for the Buffalo Bills, and that really starts to look juicy as far as the big contracts that we can sign. We worked on solidifying our team last season, and I agree with Brandon Beane. We are not just one player away, but if we could add 3-4 big pieces in there, maybe a Ty Ngakoue, maybe pick up a Joey Galloway from Galladay from the Lions, who might be trading him. Pick up some bigger name guys, might be onto something. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to do, but I'm saying that's a possibility, and I like the idea of adding $20+ million to cap space for those 5 guys and putting that number at $110 million. Off subject, but what do we think about Jags keeping Doug Marrone? My brother's actually a Jacksonville fan, and I talked to him about that today, and I just said, sorry. I'm sorry. That's another year, but after next year, he will be gone, so don't worry about that. Daniel comes in. Trent's dollars drops after next season. It does. It really does. But is he worth the $7+ million, almost $9 million for next season? Is that what he's worth? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. Hey, Anthony, welcome to Billievers Talk. Apex Estelle, I'm sorry. I will let him know you say that. Maybe go after Ansah again. Joe Nelson, that cap will have to be available down the road to re-sign Josh Allen and all the young guys. If we tie it up too much now, we will get in cap trouble. Most of that money used temporarily available, really. I think that we can tie up some of those big names now. We want to keep Trey White. We want to keep Tremaine Edmonds. You obviously hope that Josh Allen's the guy that you want to keep. I saw a poll on Twitter just today, or maybe today, maybe it was yesterday, but it asked the question, if you had to sign Josh Allen to a big deal today, would you do it? And it's interesting to me. That's a very interesting question. I think there are a lot of Bills fans that would 100% say yes. A lot of Bills fans that would 100% say no. I am still, and we'll talk about him, of course, we'll talk about him in the offseason, still very much on the fence about Josh Allen. Saw a lot of good, a lot of progress this season. I'm not going to lie about that. But we still saw some pretty low lows from Josh Allen, right? Still saw some signs that he still has a lot of room to grow. And is he going to be able to do it all? We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be very interesting. Galladay's like 6'4". Yeah, Danny Burton, listen, a guy like, I hear people talking about AJ Green. I hear people talking about some other receivers. Look at Galladay from the Detroit Lions. Detroit is going to be one of those teams that's shopping some guys, and he might be one of them. So look at that and say, instead of getting an unknown commodity in the draft, what if we trade for Galladay before the draft even starts? And now we're looking at that first-round pick saying there's a lot of different things we can do with it. So I think that's interesting. It is interesting to me that Brandon Beane did talk about the wide receiving core of the draft and talked highly about them. But again, it could all be lip service. We've seen that before. Just last offseason, everyone was talking about how McCoy was going to stay on this team. McCoy was a centerpiece for his team, yada, yada, yada. And then what happens? He gets released right before the season starts. So very interesting to see that. Again, guys, 23 people in this room. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up button as we continue to talk about the Buffalo Bills' future. And when we talk about the Buffalo Bills' future, we just talked about the money, right? We talked about the money. We talked about the unrestricted free agents. We talked about the salary cap space. We talked about all that. I want to talk about why I'm excited for the future of this team. The reasons why I'm excited beyond the money. beyond the money. And I think we can all be excited for these reasons. And my first reason, or after the money, my first reason is living up to or exceeding expectations. Since Coach McDermott took over as the coach of the Buffalo Bills, Vegas has not had us winning more than 6 games a single season. Not once. Not when they first come out with the numbers. Don't matter what you hear. I bet them, so I know what they were expected to do. All right. 2017, Coach McDermott's first year as Buffalo Bills head coach. Vegas projects the Buffalo Bills to win 6 games. The Bills somehow finished 9-7, breaking the long playoff drought for the Buffalo Bills and getting into the playoffs where we lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's in Coach McDermott's first season. His second season, Beane's first full season as Buffalo Bills GM, we worry about the cap space, right? We know how bad that dead cap money situation was. We were dead last in the league in dead cap money in 2017, in 2018, paying people a lot of money, paying people way too much money. Someone said in the chat room talking about Marcel Darius, people like that. We were still paying them boatloads of money to play for other teams. So we knew we were in a tough spot. Again, Vegas has us at 6 wins. We go out there, we get 6 wins with a rookie quarterback, with a new GM, with a lot of pieces gone because, again, we were trying to fix that cap space situation. And then we come into 2019, Allen's first full year as a starter, right? You talk about that 6-10 season, something you forgot to mention. I forgot to mention 4 quarterbacks that year. Start the year with Peterman, then go to Allen. Allen gets hurt in that Texans game. You go to you go back to Peterman. Then you go to Derek Anderson. Derek Anderson gets concussed against New England. Then you go to Barkley, the guy that we have now as our backup. So 4 quarterbacks, working with that salary cap restriction, still going 6-10, meeting the expectations. And then in 2019, what do? Vegas projects us again. This year they only has at 5.5 wins. We started the offseason. Vegas has at 5.5 wins. We go 10-6 for the first time. We get double-digit wins for the first time since 1999. This coaching staff, this front office, they're exceeding expectations, and I expect that to continue. There's no reason to think that won't continue. And our expectations for next season are high, and they should be high. This past offseason, I talked about how this year my expectations were not high. I would love to see us make the playoffs just for playoff experience, but they weren't high. Well, that's what happened. We made the playoffs, and guys like Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, Ed Oliver, some of those big-name guys got that playoff experience. And now we're looking at next season. We're saying we have a chance not just to win a wild card berth. We can win this division, right? We can win this division. The AFC East is more up for grabs at this point than it has been in 2000 since 2007 when Brady got hurt week 1. When Brady went down with that injury in week 1. So since 2007, so in 13 years, this is the most up for grabs this division has been. And I'm excited for it. I expect you guys to be excited for it too because the Bills are right there. You talk about this coaching staff. You talk about this front office. You talk about this team. And they're there. The building blocks are there. Again, maybe not one piece away, but you're talking about maybe 3, 4, 5 pieces away, and this team has something special brewing. We saw a lot this season. You saw a lot this season. We're going to talk about culture in a little bit, and that's a big part of it. 2020, the Bills need to challenge for the AFC's title. I'm just wondering in 2020 who's going to challenge us. We shouldn't just challenge for the AFC title. We should be the favorites, and we should use that favorite role and take advantage of it and say we are the favorites. Show the NFL that we're favorites for a reason. We'll talk about that tough schedule. We'll talk about all that in a little bit in another episode. But man, we really should have that AFC East title next season. I expect that next season. That's what I expect from this team right now as we sit here. Injuries change everything, right, guys? Injuries change everything. Perspective is everything. So things can change. Draft's going to happen. Free agency's going to happen. Who knows when Antonio Brown's going to go because I think he's going to play next season. Who knows what all is going to happen. But I expect at this point, January 9th, 2020, that the end of the 2020 calendar year, the Buffalo Bills are going to be the AFC's champs for the first time since 1996. I'm sorry, 1996. That's what I expect to see. Everyone else knows Poyer's decline late in the season. He bounced. I hope he bounces back next season. He did all right against the Patriots in Week 16. I'll say that for him. And again, you also have to consider not a lot of passes going out on the Buffalo Bills pass defense, right? I mean, you look at these teams that beat us, a lot of rushing, a lot of running attack type numbers, not going towards our safeties, more work in the middle of the field. You did see Poyer. He was the one that blown that coverage in the Baltimore game that left the tight end wide open to run downfield for a touchdown. So that's going to be something. Apex says TB12 is going to hang it up. It'll be interesting to see if he goes to another team, because then we really get to see if it was a Belichick thing or a Brady thing a little bit more. So it's going to be interesting to see if they have that little breakup there. But I don't think Tom Brady is going to retire. I actually think he's going to be a Patriot next year, but we will see what happens. Even if he is a Patriot next year, though, I think this Buffalo Bills team is the favorite to win the AFC East. But those are my opinions. Again, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about living up to or exceeding expectations for this Buffalo Bills team. I think they've done a great job. And guys, for all of you who said, I'm excited about the draft, I'm excited about the draft too. I'm looking forward to it. The reason why I'm looking forward to it is not just because it's a fix during the offseason, which it is. It's a fix, right? You get to watch the NFL draft. You get to see the players of the future. You get to see them and who they're going to be playing for, who's going to be playing for our Buffalo Bills. But if you take a look at the history of the Coach McDermott, Brandon Beane NFL draft, the 3 seasons, 2017, 2018, 2019, it's looking pretty good. It's looking like they know what they're doing. It's looking like they got the right scout team for the Buffalo Bills. Depending on what happens this year with the Jerry Hughes situation. Again, Jerry Hughes, the Buffalo Bills did not disclose a wrist injury that Jerry Hughes had going into the playoff game. Now, I look at that and say 3 sacks with a wrist injury, pretty dang good. I also look at that and say, Jerry Hughes, keep your mouth shut. I also look at that and say, hey, if the Patriots would have done this, we'd be looking at them with a magnifying glass. So the fact that the Bills did this, should we look at them any less? But I maybe would see a draft pick taken away. Not sure. Rivers is 31. Yeah, Rivers is getting up there in age too. So we'll see what happens. But Rivers is also a free agent, I believe, this year too. So that's why the Brady to LA things have started. He plays like he's 50. Again, guys, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Subscribe to Billievers Talk. We can keep you covered all off season. We're going to have a great time right here. So make sure. And also, Buffalo Sports. I'm going to be live streaming some Sabres games this year, guys. I'm excited. In fact, the Sabres are playing right now. They're playing the Blues. Last I saw, it was 3-1 Blues. We'll see what happens. Of course, Eichel, the guy with the goal for the Sabres, is now 4-1 Blues. So that doesn't look like it's going good with only 5 minutes to go in the third period there. So it looks like it's going to be another Sabres loss. But I will be doing Sabres games this year, so if you guys are Sabres fans, you want to join me for those. Not as much fun as Bills games, obviously, but we do want to root on our Sabres. And hopefully maybe break that playoff drought soon. Again, it's been 8 years since the Buffalo Sabres have made the playoffs. It's time to break that drought too. Time to give Jack Eichel some help. You know, Jeff Skinner, El Poso, they're both out for extended period of times. I think I heard that for both of them. And so we need to get Jack Eichel some help. I hate the fact that we might be ruining this young man's career. A stud player, absolute stud player. And here he is on the Buffalo Sabres, just wasting it away. It seems like hopefully soon this Sabres team can live up to Jack Eichel's potential. And we can make some noise in the playoffs. Like the Buffalo Bills. I expect the Buffalo Bills to next season. But I want to talk about Coach McDermott's draft history, right? Again, starting in 20. Hey, Scott, how you doing? Thank you for joining us on Billievers Talk, and thank you for that donation. Guys, if you haven't used that super chat button, guys, it really helps me out, helps out this channel. All the money that I get from my super chats goes directly into this channel to continue to give you guys the best content. I plan on getting a new microphone between now and the beginning of the 2020 NFL season. Maybe some new cameras, some new angles, things like that. Really helps out with those donations. So again, Scott, I appreciate it. Buffalo Bills fan, hi, how you doing? Again, guys, as you're coming in here, hit that thumbs up button. We've talked about the Buffalo Bills 2020 free agents. We've talked about the salary cap space. We've talked about living up to the expectations. Coach McDermott, Brandon Beane, so far exceeding a lot of the expectations. We've said all season about how we're ahead of schedule, and that hopefully will continue as we continue to make some more playoff pushes in the future. I want to talk about now the NFL draft and how the Buffalo Bills have done yeah, exactly, Buffalo Bills fan. That's what I want to do. I want to get all that cool stuff and continue to give you guys great content and not hurt your ears so much. I've heard that I can get excited at times. I've heard this. I really haven't seen it. I think that you guys are making stuff up, fabricating the truth a little bit. But I've heard I can get excited, and that hurts some ears, some bleeding. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that a better microphone will fix that, and that's what I want to do for you guys. So I look forward to doing that next season. So I want to look at the 2017 draft to start things off. Again, Coach McDermott's first year with the Buffalo Bills. And you look at this draft, right? Obviously, you talk about Tre'Davious White. This is the year that we traded back. We had a top 10 pick with Kansas City. Kansas City gets Patrick Mahomes. We trade back. We get Tre'Davious White at 27. Which means there's good value in the 20s, so that's something good to see. Scott, I didn't even read your super chat, so I do apologize for that. But so Scott comes in and says, Wade and Singletary next year going to be incredible, in my opinion. Again, as I said earlier in the chat, if Christian Wade can do what he did in the preseason all season long, then I'm excited. And you should be excited because Singletary looked really good last year or this past year, and Wade this preseason definitely had a spark, showed something. But you do have to think about his age. He is over 30 now. So obviously we wouldn't sign him to a big contract, but you did see we just signed him to that future contract, right? Which means he is going to be on the team next season, that 90-man roster. Now let's see if he can make that 53-man roster now that we don't get that extra, 11th practice squad player. So that's going to be interesting. So you look at the 27 NFL draft, first and foremost, of course, Coach McDermott gets us an extra first-round draft pick the following year. Doug Whaley takes credit for that, but we have to be honest, we know that Doug Whaley didn't do that, right? So we get an extra first-round draft pick in the 2018 NFL draft, and we get Trey White, a pick. We're set for a meteoric rise. I think we're set for a huge rise. I really do. A pick that a lot of people would probably disagree with now in hindsight is we trade up to get Zay Jones. Remember Zay Jones coming out of college looked really good, broke the FBS record for most receptions in a season his senior year. So Bills fans, including myself, were excited about this Zay Jones pick. Of course, it did not work out. Scott Blakey comes in and asks, do I think we will trade our first and second to trade up? I don't think we're going to trade up. I think trading back might be a possibility, but again, a lot of things need to happen between now and then to see what we do. Juan Castillo comes in. What's up? How you doing, Juan? Good to see you. Good to see all you guys in the stream. Again, if you just joined me, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We're currently talking about the draft history while Coach McDermott has been the coach of the Buffalo Bills. Then our third round draft pick is Deion Dawkins. Deion Dawkins has had a pretty decent career with the, or I think it might have been late second, I'm sorry, has had a pretty decent start to his career with the Buffalo Bills. Not as great as we would have liked, but not terrible, right? Again, the only piece of the offensive line that stayed the same between last year and this year was Deion Dawkins. So be interested to see what the Buffalo Bills do with him. And then, of course, our fifth round draft pick that year, a guy that we all want to see signed to a big deal, Matt Milano. Outside linebacker, has done great things for the Buffalo Bills, has shown great awareness, great speed, great just toughness, right, in that middle. Again, a guy that a lot of people said his size was going to be an issue, and maybe at times it's been an issue over top of some of the tight ends that he's covered downfield. But for the most part, this guy knows where to be. He's NFL smart, and we really appreciate about them. Blue-collar, hard-nosed, Buffalo through and through type guy. Really like Matt Milano. Really great pickup in the fifth round there. Then, of course, we get to the guy, Nathan Peterman. We don't really need to talk about him all that much. All I can tell you is in 2017, when we drafted Nathan Peterman, if you remember, a lot of Bills fans wanted the guy that ended up being Mr. Relevant that year, Chad Kelly, nephew of Buffalo Bills great Jim Kelly. So obviously some fans upset. We get Nathan Peterman. We all know what happened with Nathan Peterman, so we don't have to talk about it too much. But we pick him up. Ted Vallejo, the last pick in the 2017 NFL draft. That 2018 draft, though, man, we caught on fire. We caught some big ones in that 2018 draft. You know about Josh Allen in the top 10 pick, right? 7th overall pick. We get Josh Allen. We get the quarterback of the future. At least that's what we hope at this time. Poor Peterman, says Kenneth Osborne. You get Tremaine Edmonds later in the first round, middle linebacker, hoping to have a big part of that defense for many, many, many years to come, right? Then you talk about Harrison Phillips. Unfortunately, missed most of the season this year. Looking excited. I'm excited for him to come back next season. Was really beginning to look good. Take off on his own at that defensive tackle position. Teron Johnson had a good year this past season. He finds himself everywhere, right? And he seems to throw his body around, as people have been saying. He doesn't mind throwing his body around. Has led to some minor injuries in his short NFL career, but overall a good talent there. Tyron Neal, I can't say enough about Tyron Neal and what he's brought to this Buffalo Bills team. And then you go Wyatt Teller, Ray McLeod, who just signed a future contract with the Buffalo Bills, and Austin Proehl. And then this past season, you talk about Ed Oliver. Made a huge difference on this team in his rookie year. Talk about Cody Ford. Whether you want to put him at guard, whether you want to put him at tackle, that's a decision up to you. But he brings you that versatility now. He brings you that versatility, and he held his own for the majority of this season. Expect more good things out of Cody Ford. Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary might be the best drafted running back last year. That's what I'm going to say about Devin Singletary. I truly believe that he might have been the best running back taken. I know Josh Jacobs had more yards than him, but Josh Jacobs was a starter. That's all I'm saying. Like, he started the whole season for Oakland, where Devin Singletary slowly took over that starting role for the Buffalo Bills and earned it. Earned it every single step of the way, and he took the league by storm, and the league is now taking notice because he is going to be the Buffalo Bills starter next season. Next pick, late in the third round, tight end Dawson Knox. Just think about that Cincinnati game. Just close your eyes and remember him wrecking the Cincinnati Bengals defenders as they tried to tackle him before he just stiff-armed the one, lowered his shoulder, and boomed the other one. I think we got a big steal there in Dawson Knox. Boshawn Joseph, we talked about him earlier, possibly stepping up, taking that Lorenzo Alexander role maybe. You talk about Jaquan Johnson, you talk about Daryl Johnson, and then Tommy Sweeney. So think about those drafts, guys. Great drafts, in my opinion, all three of them for their own reasons. And then also now you look at the 2020 draft. And again, we might lose a pick because of the Jerry Hughes situation. But you're talking about 9 picks. 9 picks come up this season. No 7th round picks, 2 6th round picks. 3 6th round picks, 2 5th round picks. I think we're going to have another great draft this year. I'm looking forward to it. Let me get to some of your comments before we keep going. Again, guys, we're in hour number 2 now of this stream. I appreciate all you guys joining me for this late night edition. Again, I know the Bills don't have a game this weekend, but we still want to talk some Buffalo Bills football. Talking more about the game Saturday, I see. I'm trying to not think about that. I've already watched that game 3 times. It's been heartbreaking every single time, so I'm trying not to think about that game anymore, trying to move on past that, think about the future. I remember when everyone wanted Bryce Love instead of Singletary, Scott Osborne. I was on that train. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does with the Redskins. Obviously missed most of the season, but I'm really happy we got Devin Singletary now, and I wouldn't want Bryce Love. I wouldn't want any other running back that came out last year other than Devin Singletary. So I'll admit it, I was on the Bryce Love train, but Devin Singletary is the guy that I'm really happy with, and I would not have it any other way. Again, guys, if you're new, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and get ready for a great offseason covering the Buffalo Bills, covering the Buffalo Sabres, covering all Buffalo sports, and giving you the most recent up-to-date Buffalo Bills news. The last thing I want to talk about, guys, before I let you go for the evening, is something that every Bills fan knows has changed over the past 3 years since Coach McDermott has come in. He has talked about changing this one thing in Buffalo. And he has succeeded when he brought in Brandon Beane to be the GM, when he brought in Leslie Frazier to bring back that great defense that we had at one time, when he brought in Brian Dable to work with, and even now Ken Dorsey to work with a young Josh Allen, when he brought in players like Frank Gore, who knows what it's like, a Cole Beasley, who's a hard worker, Ty Nsekhe, who just hasn't had the opportunity in other places. When he brought in the guys that bring a Buffalo attitude, he changed the culture. From day one, Coach McDermott talked about changing the culture here in Buffalo, and he has absolutely done that. And you see that. You see that. It's visible, right? Look at the last 3 seasons. Last 3 seasons, we've had 3 key pieces retire, right? Eric Wood, forced to retire because of his neck injury. Kyle Williams retires. And now Lorenzo Alexander announces a retirement. But what do all 3 players still have in common? They're still in the Buffalo area. They still come to practice to help out the young guys. Lorenzo Alexander's talked about doing the same exact thing. And they want to see this Buffalo Bills team succeed. How often do you see that? How often do you see veteran guys coming back to where they played during training camp? One of the reasons why a lot of people retire is because they don't want to go through the training camp anymore. They don't want to go through the OTAs. But these guys are coming back during those times to help out these young players. And that's just a sign of the culture. McD changed the culture. Bean changed the roster. Support the better, says Daniel. Absolutely. You just don't see that as Apex comes in and says that. And then you think about this just this past weekend. This past weekend, a game that we lose. Everybody knows the story of Duke Williams, right? Everyone knows the story of what happened with Duke Williams. Duke Williams was the last guy off the field. Jerry Hughes had to come up to Duke Williams and help him off the field, escort him off the field because he had to get off the field. That's how long Duke Williams sat on the sideline. He had to have another Bills player come and bring him over and say, hey, it's all right. We're going to get through this and we're going to improve from this. And guys, you know, the way this team has embraced the city overall, and the city has embraced this team right back. I mean, there are people waiting at the airport when they come back from the playoff loss, ready to greet this Buffalo Bills team. When do you hear of this? You don't. That's because this is Bills Mafia, the greatest fan base for any football team. And I challenge any American sports team in the world. I'm not going to mess with European soccer. All right, don't get me wrong. Okay, if you know anything about European soccer, you know they crazy. They saw bombs, they fireworks. You go nuts. Okay, they go a little crazy. South America, Europe, you have your soccer fans. I'm not going to mess with those. But you're talking about any North American fan base, I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills might be the best one ever. So again, this is awesome. You talk about the culture, you talk about the draft, you talk about the salary cap, you talk about those free agents. Again, guys, what free agents do you want to keep? I'll go through the list one more time. If you're just joining me, hit that thumbs up button as we continue to talk about the Buffalo Bills. We're going to get off here soon, but I want to give you these free agents one more time. And you let me know, who do you want to keep? There's 19 unrestricted free agents that the Buffalo Bills have this season. 19. Culture matters, says Scott Blakely, for certain. Let's hope some players value that during free agency. That's another thing. Again, as Brandon Beane said during his exit interview just the other day, free agents want to come to Buffalo now. Buffalo has become a free agent destination. It's not just a laughing stock anymore. Free agents are going to want to come to Buffalo to be a part of a winning team, to be a part of a championship culture, to be a part of something special. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to go through these 19 free agents one more time. Again, in the comment section, whether you're watching live or you're watching it on replay, let me know in the comment section who you want to keep and who you're okay seeing go bye-bye in this free agent market. Here are the 2020 unrestricted free agents for the Buffalo Bills. First, you got Lorenzo Alexander. Again, Lorenzo Alexander announcing his retirement, so we know we're not going to be able to keep him on the Buffalo Bills. Then you got linebacker Maurice Alexander. He is an unrestricted free agent. Isaac Asiata, guard. He's going to be a free agent. Kurt Coleman, free safety. He's going to be a free agent. Jason Kroom, Robert Foster, Frank Gore. They're all going to be free agents. Kevin Johnson, cornerback. his first year in Buffalo, he's going to be a free agent. Shaq Lawson, Corey Liuget, Spencer Long, Dean Marlowe, Isaiah McKenzie, Sonoris Perry, Jordan Phillips, Quentin Spain, Julian Stanford, Adrian Waddle, and Levi Wallace. Those are the names of the free agents going into the season. Who do you want to keep? Who do you want the Bills to spend a little bit of that cap space on to make sure they stay a Buffalo Bill? Again, guys, thank you all for joining me during this edition of Believers Talk. Again, going a little bit over an hour today. Had a lot of fun talking with you guys in the chat. Again, whatever you can do to support the channel, subscribe, like, share, whatever you want to do. It really helps out. I really appreciate it. I look forward to talking to all you soon. Again, we're going to keep this going even during the off season, keep you up to date on Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports news. So I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.